Hey there, hi, welcome to the channel. I am Garrett, and in today's video, we are talking about some design that everybody says is dated, that people love to rip out, but I disagree. We're gonna keep it classic, keep it timeless, and save what we can. Now, the first thing we absolutely have to talk about that I see all over social media, people ripping out, and they think they did something, okay? They did something, but it wasn't something great, is your old railing, your banister, you know, the hand-holding part on your staircase. I see people ripping them out all the time. They take out their traditional ones that are, you know, carved, and their spindles, and blah, 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 and they replace it with, like, what is essentially modular, like, cables and wiring as opposed to with some cable. No, just don't do that. Just don't do it. Yes, it looks more modern, but it also looks more industrial. Like we may see it somewhere that, you know, is built quickly, affordably, and made to be, you know, substantial, like a prison, for example. And while orange is my color, I don't want to live there. I would like the banister and the railings in my home to be a little more classic. And that doesn't mean it has to be traditional. It just means that it should fit into the normal concept of what these are. Now, also some people are going to say glass railings. And glass railings, I have a love-hate relationship with. I love to look at them, but I would hate to live with them because glass has to be cleaned and it gets dirty. It shows every fingerprint, all of it. And I just don't love that. You know, more maintenance than I have to take care of isn't something that excites me. Also, I don't love the top of a glass railing because there's no hand hold there. There's nothing you're gripping onto. It's a piece of glass. So if you needed that to steady yourself, or if you were like, oh, I'm gonna fall, like grab onto it, your grip isn't gonna be great on a piece of glass as it will be on an actual banister. So I just think reinventing the wheel in that place isn't necessary. Now, I will say that you might have that traditional banister and you're like, oh, it looks a little old, or it's not really fitting in with what we're doing, the renovation we're doing, or you just are looking for a change, and that's okay. Everybody finds themselves there at some point where they want to change something, but they're like, should I rip it out? Should I get rid of it? Let me tell you, I don't think it's worth it because this is very expensive to do. It has a lot of repair work so that you can then replace it with something else, and we just don't make it like we used to. We just don't, and that's the reality of it. So I would rather see you gel stain or ghost coat something. I'd rather see you paint it in 2 tones or something like that. Have that work done because it's something your hand touches has to be done really durably and sturdy, and it has to last. So I want to have painters out there that know exactly what they're doing so we can get that correct. Or you could even take it to that next step and have that stain to fit the new design or style you're bringing into the space. And here's a big takeaway I want you to get is that mixing different styles together is what makes a space have personality. It's what makes it feel authentic and genuine and curated over time. So if you have a traditional home or you live in an area where there's just a lot of those colonials and Georgians, you don't redo everything. Don't make it something that it's not, because there's no point in that. You're gonna spend all of this extra money doing something that really is not necessary, and a lot of people are expecting to see something else, and so it may not be a welcome change. It's really great to reinterpret traditional spaces in modern ways and bring in modern furnishings and colors. You can really update something without having to gut or rip anything out, because at the end of the day, if something is good, if the quality is right, if it's durable, if it's sturdy, if it's going to last, why are we going to rip it out? Why do we have to redo it? It doesn't, just because you don't like the way something looks doesn't mean it's not serviceable and we can't make it work. And that, I think, is a big takeaway I want you to have when it comes to interior design and interior designers in general. I'm not the person that says, rip it out, start over, it's trash, we have to let it go. I'm going to say, okay, this is what we have, this is what we're trying to achieve. How do we make that work? How can we reinterpret that and reimagine that? And if you're in the position where you're looking to have that done in your home and you've got that thing you just don't have the answer for, I've got you covered. You can always book a one-on-one interior design consultation with me using the link in the description box down below or going to intro.co/GarrettLeChic. And we're a few days out from the holidays, so remember, these consultations make a great last-minute holiday gift, and remember, the times listed are shown in your time zone. Now, the next thing I see people love to replace online, or they'll be like building something new and be like, oh, we have to do something different, is the square fireplace. They love to get rid of a square fireplace. They love a linear fireplace. And I've beaten this. over the head plenty of times already. I don't like them. It just doesn't do it for me. I think it takes a very specific space and scale to make that work and fit in. And I just don't think most homes have that. Plus, once again, there is something to be said for reinventing something traditional and using it in a modern way. So we take a square fireplace and do a modern style mantle on it, or a more traditional style mantle, and juxtapose that with more modern furniture. I think you can really update a home just with the furniture, just with the paint colors. So redoing a square fireplace into a rectangular or linear fireplace, I don't think it's necessary, and I think it already looks kind of dated to me, in my opinion. And even if you're not doing like an actual wood burning fireplace, I've never seen a wood burning fireplace outside of an authentic mid-century home that was linear in nature. So I think that's a takeaway to have there also. You see them mostly when they're gas or electric. I don't think the electric ones are very convincing. I don't particularly, I've never seen one that I thought like, oh wow, that's really amazing. I had one client who was considering one, and we kind of had a conversation about her inspiration and style, and she ultimately decided, you know, like maybe I'm just trying to come up with something different here for the sake of it, which I think is what a lot of people do. Now, if you really want this and you want it to work, I think it takes a large space that has a very linear feeling to it, or you want to achieve that linear look, because that's what the linear fireplace does. It creates a horizontal line, and in most homes a horizontal line will bring the ceiling height down and make it look a little shorter. So you have to have a space where you've got taller ceilings to bring them down for a horizontal fireplace to work. I don't think it works in a 2-story space, however. I think that's a little bit much, because now it looks very squat and low to the ground. So I think you really have got to put a lot of consideration into that and say, what are we doing above it? Because if you're like, we're gonna put a big massive TV there for the height, yeah, okay, I get where you came up with that from, but for the overall design and aesthetic, that TV is going to be so large and overpowering because it is so much taller than the fireplace is, that you're not really gonna see the fireplace. It's gonna be like a little line on the wall. So I just don't love a linear fireplace. I think that we're reinventing the wheel here for not a good reason. That square fireplace, it's a classic detail that a lot of homes already have, if you even have a fireplace. A lot of people don't. A lot of people don't want one or need one, and that's okay. In my home, even though I live in the desert, I live in Las Vegas, I have a wood-burning fireplace, and we absolutely love the shape of it, the size of it, the warmth it brings to the space, especially during this holiday season. So a square fireplace is not something I think I could ever live without. As a matter of fact, if I was to look at a home that had a linear fireplace, the number one thing we would have to do is change it out to something else, because I just don't think it fits the design style and narrative most people have for their spaces, and I don't think you have to get rid of your square fireplace in favor of a more modern linear fireplace. Now, the next thing that I see a lot of people getting rid of, replacing, updating, or changing out is their old sink. Yeah, the sinks in your bathrooms, the sinks in your kitchens. I don't think you have to redo them for something like in a bathroom, for example. I don't want to see a vessel sink. I know they're having their moment, they're trending again. I don't like it, I don't want to see it. The number one reason I really don't like vessel sinks is because you have to drop your counter height to accommodate the sink, right? We want it to stay at that same level, usually 36 inches. So in order to have a bowl like sink on top of your countertop, you have to drop the countertop to keep the sink at the correct level where it's comfortable to get your hands into it. And the truth of the matter is, most people that say, I want a vessel sink, it's the newest thing, they don't drop the cabinet height down, because that would be a custom feature, more expensive to do. So basically they're just putting a vessel sink on top of an already tall countertop, and the vessel sink is like way up here and I'm like a little dinosaur washing my hands. I don't like that. The dinosaur energy is not mine. So now we've dropped our countertop down. If I need to do anything there, the countertop is like 6 inches, 9 inches lower than I'm expecting it to be. I don't think we need that. I don't think it's really functional or useful. I don't think it's just unnecessary in my opinion for something that's purely design, purely aesthetic. I think a vessel sink could work in a powder bathroom. I think that's an interesting place for it, because we don't have people doing their hair, doing their makeup and getting ready and all that stuff in a powder bathroom, right? That's purely just, we're using the restroom, we're washing our hands, and we're going back out to the party, which I love. But you know, vessel sink is fine there. In like primary bathroom, in a hall bathroom, like, you know, the kids' bathroom, no. I just think it's one of those trends where it's like you see it in a magazine, you see it in a photograph or a video. Like, I'll show you pictures here where it looks good. You know, it's really pretty. The design is great. The aesthetics are there. The functionality for me isn't. And I think that takes priority. Functionality over the aesthetic 99% of the time. There are certain instances where I'll make a little sacrifice just to up the ante a little bit, but it's not going to be in a sink where I'm washing my hands because there's so much cleaning that has to happen. Water splashes out because it's a dome shape. It's like if you put a spoon under the faucet in the kitchen, like the water goes everywhere. That's what happens on a vessel sink. I'm not interested in it, not in my bathroom, not in my home, because I'm not cleaning up after it. Now, of course, if you have it, if this functions and works for you and you really like it, don't rip it out, go for it. Not everything works for every single person, and that's okay. But really give this some serious thought before you put this into your home if you're planning a renovation. You have to have the correct depth of faucet for a vessel sink. That's a big thing people don't talk about. The faucet, the neck on it has to be a certain depth to really work and function for it. You also have to have a very specific level of water pressure, which is very hard to control. Like maybe you have to add extra aerators onto your faucet, which is a whole other thing that I'm not messing with. I just don't think this functions for most people. And I think your old sink is fine. Even if it's a drop-in sink, that's okay. It still works well, and that's nice. When it comes time to redo the countertops or redo the sinks and all of that, you're doing a little update here or there, that's when we go for the under-mounted sink. Yeah, it looks cleaner, it's a little more modern. It's not going to change your life to have an under-mounted sink. It really cleans up the aesthetic and nice, and that's something I'm gonna recommend if you're doing a bathroom renovation, but it's not something I think that you absolutely have to do at this moment. And I'm gonna tell you in your kitchen when we're doing a renovation to do an apron front sink because they're life-changing. Once you have that apron front sink, you will never go back. And I love that for you. Speaking of something else I'd love for you, that thing that I love for you is my great design advice and aesthetics. So I would love it and I would greatly appreciate it if you would become a part of our LeChic family by hitting that subscribe button and joining us. It costs you absolutely nothing, but it means the world to content creators like me. I post 2 videos a week all about great interior design, what to do and what to steer clear of. So be sure you change your life and elevate your home by joining us. I would also greatly appreciate it if everyone watching could give this video a like. The next thing that a lot of people are gonna tell you to get rid of that I think is dated, but you can make work in your home is shiplap. Ooh, I know the modern farmhouse girls are shaking, they are quaking, they're like, my time has come again. Well, let's not go that far, but I don't think you have to take out your shiplap for a couple of reasons. Number one, you probably messed the wall up underneath it when you put it in, right? If you glued it on there, if you nailed it in there, you're gonna have a bunch of glue, holes, it's gonna be messed up. Don't rip it off and open up a can of worms. And I don't think it's worth messing with because the shiplap is really not that bad. I did shiplap ceilings in our home because I just wanted to have a decorative detail, an interesting feature on the ceilings to draw your eye up to them a little bit because we have 8-foot ceilings in this house, and you would never believe it because I used tricks like I feature in my How to Make Your Small Home Look Larger video, which is linked right up here. You should check that out. But that's an interesting place I did it, and I really like it. It adds a nice detail, but in a lot of homes we saw shiplap and it was just way overdone. Okay, everybody was doing it. It was like, I have a blank wall. What should I do here? Should I get a piece of art? Should I decorate it? No, I should do shiplap. I think we can make the shiplap work by painting in an interesting color. Yes, an interesting color, something other than white or black. Like we saw enough of it, but give me something earthy, something organic, something interesting. And I think that shiplap can actually work and be very elevated and be interesting. And I love that about design is that we can reinterpret and reimagine something that was really dated or oversaturated, overdone, people are tired of, into something interesting. And we can breathe new life into a space just simply by changing the color of the walls. Really think on that. Give some thought into what can I do with this. Right now, what is really popular in modern and contemporary interior design is doing a different finish or feature on each wall. So maybe these 2 walls will be wrapped in a wood detail and that'll be painted a color. This will have wallpaper and that'll be an interesting texture. Maybe it's tiled, and layering all of these different materials together to serve as a backdrop and almost create designated areas within a space. And that's something you can consider with this shiplap. You could paint it an accent, or you could paint that flat wall and the shiplap, those 2 colors, and it would be great. The thing to think about with shiplap when you're painting it is that there are a lot of grooves and it's not easy to get into. So once again, I'm not gonna be telling you go and paint it all yourself and you can do an amazing job on it, because probably not. I would hire someone in to get that really done, beautifully sprayed and looking good, because a smooth surface is more difficult to paint yourself. We all know this, but painting your shiplap, reimagining what it can be, will really have a big impact. And I also always look at shiplap when it's a white shiplap and it looks nautical to me. It always says like ocean, boat, beach house type of a feeling. So painting it a different color could take you out of that more nautical place and into something that feels a little bit more genuine to your personal style. And I love that. But I don't think, you know, a lot of these accent walls people were really invested in. I don't think you have to get rid of them or redo them. I think that reinterpreting them, just rethinking the color they're painted in, could be something really interesting to consider and give your home just an interesting feeling and take on something that we've seen a lot, but might be unexpected in your space. Now, one of the biggest things you could change in your home, one of the most costly renovations you can do, and most people will in their home, is changing out the floors. Yes, your flooring, your old flooring. Not all old flooring should be saved. I will be honest and say that, because sometimes we're replacing it for a durability issue or a wear issue. Like if it's worn out, if it's just looking terrible, there's no salvaging it, okay? Let's just let it go and redo it, okay? But when I see people redo their flooring, I often see them think they have to do something different. If we're replacing it, we have to replace it with something different. And that's not always the case. I don't think you always have to reimagine what you're putting on your floor or one of the major features of your home when you're redoing something. You can repaint your walls the same color they are just to refresh the color and the quality of them and just brighten the space up, right? Like you can do that. It's not gonna hurt you if you really like something. So if you have to replace flooring in your home, you don't have to do something different than was already there, or you don't have to replace something that's perfectly good. The amount of people I see online who are like, oh, I hate the floors, or the cherry floors in my house are so terrible, they have to go, and want to replace them is shocking. But you know what? I love cherry floors. I love cherry floors. It's so beautiful. It's such a great wood tone. That's why it was so popular and why we see it so much. It's a great color to have on your floors, honestly and truly. I believe that, and I think it can be worked with. Actually, I had a client who had cherry floors and she didn't want them because they were not wearing well for her dog. So we decided to replace them with a cherry wood look tile. Yeah, because that really worked for her personal style. So we were able to replace the floors with something more durable and better quality for her, but we didn't have to change or do anything groundbreakingly different to achieve that in her space. And you can do that anywhere. I think it's more important to do an all-encompassing design, really take in what is the style we're going for, what is the style of the home, and then say, what should we do for the floors here? Because if you have a great colonial home and you have a, colonial kind of style to it, we don't need to replace the floors with like a wide oak, white oak plank flooring, because it just doesn't fit the style of the home. Like we can go for something more mid-tone. And the opposite's also true. You don't have to replace tile with wood floor. You don't have to replace carpet with wood floor either. If you really like the carpet, if you live in a cold climate, you're like, I love carpet in bedroom. Okay, let's think about what can we do for carpet in those bedrooms. Does it have to be something groundbreaking or some different color or whatever? Honestly, I like a creamy white colored carpet. I don't think you have to replace your floors with something different just because you're redoing them. And I almost always online see people do that. They think they have to reinvent everything in their home. It's like concrete floors are back in. I don't like concrete floors. I don't want concrete floors in my home. Where do I expect to see concrete floors? Maybe at like a sloppy little bar where they want to hose the floors down. I don't know. Maybe like in a dog kennel. Okay, I don't like that though. I don't want my home to be like that. So that's something I'm seeing that I would never do because I think it's unnecessarily inventive. Keeping what you have or replacing it with the same thing or something similar is your best bet. You don't always have to change what you're doing just because something has to be replaced. Well, there you have it, and these are some of the things that everyone says are dated, but I think are worth keeping in your home. And be sure you check out this video right here all about how to elevate the ordinary and decorate the average home, because sometimes you don't have to go with something groundbreaking that's inaccessible to you. Be sure you check out that video right over here, and I will see you over there.